All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we are going to be talking about the conspiracy and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Okay. Let's go to the next slide real quick. Come on, there we go. So the objective, we're going to analyze the plan to kidnap Lincoln. Now remember, this is the thing. The original plan was not to kill him, it was actually to kidnap him. We're going to get to that a little bit more in a bit. Then we're going to examine the events leading to the assassination and if anything could have been done to stop it. And lastly, we're going to create an argument on whether Major Rathbone could have done anything more than he did to stop Booth. Could he have done something else? At this pivotal moment, things like that. What could he have done if he could? Okay. All right. So here's your warm-up picture. The first question asks you, uh, what's happening here. Okay. So be sure you know the names of the people. Make sure you put down what they're doing. Um, you know, tell me what's going on here. The second question asks you to predict. Now, I don't want you to look it on Google. I just want to know what you know about the assassination of Lincoln. Why did Booth kill Lincoln? That's your question. Make a prediction. Basically, gathering from the knowledge you've had from when you were younger to now, from what you know, why did Booth kill Lincoln? That's your second question. Okay, again, do not look it on Google. Don't search that kind of stuff. Just answer it straight up from what you were taught when you were younger and from what you've heard and things like that, and give your answer. Okay, so while you guys are writing, we're going to be moving on in three, two, one. All right, so the guy who was leaping, that was John Wilkes Booth. Okay, Booth was an actor. He was a Southern sympathizer, which meant he kind of felt sorry for the South and was favoring them. He was like, "Oh, I understand why they're upset. I understand why, how they feel about the North, telling them what to do, how to live their life, and things like that. Oh, that there should be slavery, and things like that." Now, Booth was not just some like average schmo, some little actor. He's actually a world famous actor. His whole family were world famous actors. They were Shakespearean actors. If I remember right, his dad was like did a really good job, I believe, with Hamlet. Okay. And here's a little twist in fate as well. Believe it or not, John Wilkes Booth's brother saved Lincoln's son. The son fell, and I believe it was a carriage or a train was coming, and he saved him. He like saved him, pulled him out before the son could get ran over. So that's a little twist in fate right there. How's that happen? But the thing is, Booth realized, like a lot of Americans at that time, that the South, the Confederacy, they were losing. They're getting their butts kicked in all kinds of battles. They're getting pushed back. A lot of soldiers are being captured. And things like that are surrendering. So what Booth does is he goes to Montreal, Canada, and he ends up meeting some Confederate agents. Now these guys are recruiters, they're saboteurs, things like that. So Booth is meeting with them. They're teaching him some stuff. They're having conversations about how all the South is. They just need one good boost of morale, something to get them going, and yeah, they'll come back and things like that. Okay, so he comes back to Maryland in the summer of 1864, and he comes up with a plan to kidnap Lincoln. Now, his plan is to kidnap him, okay, not to kill him. The plan was to kidnap Lincoln and then trade him for all the soldiers, uh, the Southern soldiers that were in jail, kept as prisoners of war, things like that. Um, so that's his plan. Trade the president for all those soldiers. And his hope is that when they get out, those who are ready to fight, that they'll start fighting again. Those who are wounded or on the brink of starvation, that they'll heal up, they'll get better, and then they'll go back to fighting again. So that the war will go on more, so that the South has another second win, that they'll fight again and stuff like that. Okay, that's Booth's goal. Now, like I said, that's his goal, but he needs help. He knows he can't do it himself. So he starts recruiting some people, and they meet at the Washington boarding house, which is owned by Mary Surratt. Okay. Now, she has a son, John Surratt. Now, John Surratt's a Confederate courier. Sorry. He delivers messages, packages, things like that. He crosses the line from the South to the North and vice versa. And he's very good. Okay, he is very good at doing his job. Now, Booth also recruits Samuel Arnold. Now, Samuel Arnold's an old school friend of his. I mean, loyal friend since they were younger. Same thing with Michael O'Laughlin, except Michael O'Laughlin was a ex-soldier. Okay, so he knew about war, things like that. He experienced it. The next guy is George Azeroth. Now, George Azeroth was pretty good smuggler at his time. He could deliver packages of ammunition, food, whatever the South needed. He could get that for them through sea or land. Okay, he could smuggle it through. He was pretty good. The next guy, Lewis Thornton Powell, that's him right there in that picture. Believe it or not, he was very tall and very, very strong. I mean, extremely strong. And like I told you guys about Lincoln, a couple months ago, Lincoln was tall, but he was very strong. I mean, it's almost, I hate to use a word, but it's like freakishly strong. Same thing with Lewis Powell. He was tall and he was just extremely strong. Now, thing is, though, he's a trained killer. The South trained him. He was a soldier. They trained him to be a killer with hand-to-hand combat, knives, guns, whatever. Okay, but here's the thing too about him. He was once a prisoner of war. Now, he didn't escape. Before, what they used to do was the North and South used to trade soldiers. We have a captain, we'll trade you 5 corporals and things like that for them. We have a major, we'll trade 20 regular soldiers for them. And that's how they did it. But once the North started using black soldiers, the South said, well, we're not going to trade them. We're going to put them into slavery. And the North was like, no, 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 they're soldiers. And the South said, no, to us, they're slaves. So if we capture them, we're making them slaves. So then the North said, well, we're not going to trade you with any more soldiers. The South said, well, fine, we're not going to trade ours with yours. Lewis Powell was one of those lucky ones that he was able to be exchanged before they stopped. And so he had a chip on his shoulder. He experienced the pain of being a prisoner of war. Bad food, cramped conditions, people dying from illnesses and stuff like that. So he knew what it felt like. So when Booth told him, this is what we're going to do, kidnap the president to free the prisoners, he was like, sign me up. All right. The last guy was Dr. Samuel Mudd. Now, he was a Southern sympathizer. And the thing was, the community loved him. Everybody loved Dr. Mudd. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't trust a doctor whose last name is Mudd. But they did. And he, again, sympathized, just like Booth, with the South. And so he joined along with this group. So here's my first question to you. Which type of men do you think was the most important to have if you were going to kidnap the president? Now, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about back then. Okay? Now, it would be, it's like virtually impossible. But back then, you have more of a chance. Okay? Which one would be more important to have? Smuggler, a loyal friend, a trained killer, or a doctor? Okay? So which one do you think would be the most important to have? And why? Why that particular group? Okay. Now just remember, Booth had 2 smugglers and he had two loyal friends, and he had one trained killer and one doctor. Okay, so you tell me what you believe would be the most important group to have. Okay, so go ahead, write your piece. Okay, pause the video if you're not done, or moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, really quickly, this is a picture of all the people, as you can see from number 1, John Wilkes Booth, number 2, Powell, 3, Harold O'Laughlin, John Surratt, Edmund Spangler. We'll talk about him in the extra credit video. Samuel Arnold, George Ozerat, Mary Surratt in the center, and the one who's not pictured is Dr. Samuel Mudd, and you'll find out more about why he wasn't in this picture of the conspirators in the extra credit video if you watch it. So here's the plan. Booth finds out that Lincoln is going to go to this performance called Still Waters Run Deep. And it was going to be at a hospital just outside of Washington. All right, so the performance is going to be here. Lincoln is here. So Booth is like, he has to travel this area. So what we'll do is we'll look at the terrain, see what's the best spot to ambush him. We'll come out, we'll get him. If he has security, we'll take care of security. Then we'll kidnap him. And then we'll tell them to meet our demands and stuff like that to release all those Confederate soldiers. That's the plan. But here's the problem. The day comes for Lincoln to go to the play, and Lincoln doesn't go. Lincoln changes his plan to go speak to the 140th Indiana Regiment. Lincoln was famous for this. He was, constantly changing plans, starting doing things out of the blue, just like, hey, let's go over here. Let's talk to these soldiers. Let's go over to this hospital and see these people and things like that, Oh, let's go to this flag dedication. Did they invite me? Yeah, okay, then yeah, I'll go. So he constantly did that, and he avoided capture, avoided assassination attempts, things like that. Okay. But Booth is like, okay, I got another plan. All right. We'll capture him at Ford's Theater. That's Ford's Theater right there as of today, how it looks like. Booth is like, I've been there. I've done plays there. I know the backstage. I know the front. I know this whole building for like the back of my hand. We can do this. But the conspirators are like, you do realize that Lincoln's like 6'5", right? And that this building is like in the middle of town. There's going to be a bunch of people there looking at him, like, oh my God, there's the president. He's so cool, things like that. Oh, wow, he's really tall. There's people going to be looking at him. And if, let's say, they do capture him unsuspectingly, they're in the middle of town. They're in the middle of town. How are they going to take him? On a carriage, thing like that? You think you're going to put a 6'5" man in a carriage without him squirming, fighting, things like that? So they were like, yeah, no, this plan, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem good. So they lost confidence in him. All right, so here's your second question. Do you think if the kidnapping of Lincoln was successful, that the Civil War would have continued? Why or why not? Okay, there's a writing prompt on the bottom right there for you. Now remember, a couple lessons before, Grant gave pardons to people. He let them go, said, hey, turn in your gun, but you can go home, And a lot of those soldiers did. They went home. Some of them, signed back up to fight. But a lot of them were like, you know what? No, I'm done fighting. I'm not doing this. Now again, those soldiers were in battle. These guys that Booth wanted to free were in prison. Okay, they had treated pretty bad. They had little to no food, things like that. So thing is, they might have some resentment. Okay. So again, some of them might be angry. Some of them Might be like, I'm just so happy to be gone. I'm going home. Forget all this. You know. So what do you think? What do you believe? Do you think that the fighting would have continued, or do you think a lot of the soldiers have been like, no, I'm done. I'm not going through that again. Okay. So if you're done writing, we're going to be moving on. But if you're not, please pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So here's the thing. Booth became furious when General Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse in 1865. He was livid. He was so upset. You know, um, here's the great General Lee quitting, surrendering. How could he do that? And so, Booth was very upset. But what really drove him over the edge was when Lincoln gave a speech on a balcony at the White House. He had mentioned, hey, you know what? The 13th Amendment had passed, which meant the slavery was over. That passed in January 1865. So he's like, hey, you know what? Since these guys are free now, I believe that the educated black men and those who are higher, ranking soldiers, you know, they should be allowed the right to vote. Okay, Lincoln said the educated and the ones who kind of got up higher in rank, you know, that they should have the right to vote. Booth did not hear that. All he heard was black men get to vote. That's all he heard, and that enraged him. That drew a fire in him. That really, really drove him nuts. That's what got him to change his plan from kidnapping to killing Lincoln. It was the fact that now black men were going to have the right to vote. That drove him over the edge. So, thing is, Booth knows um, this government is not like a animal where it has one head. He goes, no, this thing has multiple heads. You cut off one head, another one's going to come up and take its place. He goes, we need to take them all out. Lincoln, Vice President Johnson, Secretary of State Seward, and if possible, General Grant. Because without those guys, those are the leaders of the government at that time for the North. If all of them are gone, they're going to be leaderless. They're not going to know what to do. Who's going to be next in command? You know, is that person? Do they really know what Lincoln's plan was? Or Grant and things like that. So while they're fumbling around trying to get things in order, he figures that's when the South will come up. That's gonna be their time to come up and fight again and come back and start taking the battlegrounds and win the Civil War. So, Good Friday, April 14th, 1865. Um, Lincoln wants to go to the play called Our American Cousin. Him and Mary Todd send invites to a bunch of people. General Grant, Secretary of State Seward, um, all kinds of people. Everyone says no. Grant is like his wife and them are like, nah, I'm sorry, we can't go. Sorry about that. Secretary of State Seward just, you know, um, he was in a carriage accident and he could not go. He was bedridden. Um, but the only people who said, yeah, we'll go was these two couple, or this couple right here. Major Rathbone, the guy with the mean old chops, and his fiancee at the time, Clara Harris. Now, they're going to go with Lincoln to Ford's Theater to watch Our American Cousin. Booth gets his guys together and he's like, we're going to kill. Okay, we're going to kill the government, the Northern government, and this is how it's going to go. I am going to take Lincoln. Lewis Powell, David Harrell, you guys take Secretary of State Seward. George Azarat, you got uh, Vice President Andrew Johnson. And the other guys have General Grant. Okay, that's the plan. But the thing is, they know You can't kill one and then like hours later kill the other one because then security is going to be tightened up on the other people. They have to get them all at the same time. And they basically agree that a little after 10 o'clock is when they're going to do it. Now, here's the thing. A lot of students ask me, excuse me, where was the Secret Service? The Secret Service was around at that time, but their job was not to protect the president. It was to catch counterfeiters, people who make fake money. That's still primarily their job today, but they also protect the president. Okay, now, so what happened is around 10:15, Booth go. No, before I'm sorry, before that, Booth goes, gets his boy, pays him some money, says, "Here, hold my horse at the backstage door. I'll be right back. Just keep my horse there." Okay. Then around 10:15, Booth goes in. He's making his way, and all of a sudden, one of Lincoln's aides stops him and say, "Hey, where are you going, dude?" And Booth shows him his cards, like, "Hey, I'm an actor. I work here. I had to be over here for a certain thing with the play, stuff like that." So the guy's like, "Okay, sure, go ahead." So Booth goes through. Now the thing is, he knows this play. He knows when people are going to clap, when they're going to laugh, when they're going to, make noises and stuff like that. He knows. So what he does, he goes to the door. He opens it slightly, and he sees Lincoln. Now Lincoln is watching the play, but he's also looking at the people. He's looking at the orchestra that's below him. And what happens is he's leaning over, and right when Booth is about 4 feet away, he takes out his Derringer gun and shoots him. Right, the bullet goes right back of his head. Right now, this is where it kind of miscues a little bit. Some people said they heard Booth say "revenge for the South." Some people say they heard him say "freedom." Some people said they never heard him say anything at all. Right when the gunshot happened. So the story kind of skews a little bit, but then it's going to come back. Okay, at this point, it's kind of like there's a couple variations, but then it comes back to something everyone agrees on, which is coming up next. Major Rathbone lunges forward and grabs Booth. Now they're fighting a little bit, they're wrestling, they're going back and forth. Booth is able to get his hand down and takes a dagger and slices Major Rathbone across the arm. Major Rathbone kind of falls back, right? And then Booth, seeing an opportunity now to get away, he jumps on the edge of the balcony right there where those flags are, right on the edge, and he lunges forward towards the stage. It's like right there at that moment, Major Rathbone is able to grab him just a bit where Booth's spurs catches the flag, and when he lands on the stage, he doesn't land flat. He kind of lands like this little, and he falls feet first, but a lot of the pressure fell on his, I believe it's his right leg, and the shin, that's that bone between your knee and your foot. If you rub your finger like that down your foot or down your knee, that first bone you see, that's your shin. He fractured that. Okay. And then everybody heard him say, "Sic semper tyrannis," which is Latin for "thus always to traitors." And then he's hobbling off. To the backstage area, goes through the door, jumps on his horse, and rides off into the night. Now, here's the thing. People are confused. They're like, is this part of the play? I don't remember this in the play. No, I've seen it before. That's what happened. But then Mary Todd, the wife of Lincoln, gives this scream. Um, it's more likely that she was shocked at first, and then once she's gotten over the shock, then the terrifying scream comes out of her. Now, Charles Leal, he's a doctor at Ford's Theater watching the play. He goes up and he checks on Lincoln. He sees a big old hole in the back of his head from the gun. And he's like, okay, we need to get him out of here. It just so happens there's soldiers at Ford's Theater, and they go up there and they get Lincoln, and they're like, we need to get him out of here. And then someone says, there's a almost yeah, oh my God, sorry, a boarding house, a boarding house across the street. Like, let's take him there. So as they're picking him up and they're taking him down the stairs and so that, people are getting out of Ford's Theater. There's already hurt people are already, oh my God, there's a gunshot. People, someone got shot there. And then when the people start getting out, Lincoln got shot. And then more people clamoring it because they want to see now, is it true? Did he get shot? Um, how bad is it? You know, where is it? So people are just clamoring, trying to see, Lincoln, like, oh my God, is he okay? What happened? This and that. And so these soldiers are trying to carry him to the boarding house. And they finally do. And they're like, we need to put him on the bed. But again, because of his long, tall frame, um, he can't fit comfortably on there. So they had to kind of put him in a diagonal position, bend his knees and stuff like that, to fit him on the bed. Now, the thing is, they get a doctor there. He's looking, and the surgeon trying to see if he can get the bullet out. But the thing is, that bullet has already mushroomed. Bullets, when they go like this, sometimes when they enter the body, they come out like this. They form like that. And he's like, the bullet's mushroomed. It's putting pressure behind his right eye. So imagine if you've ever had a headache in the middle of your head and it's just throbbing and throbbing really bad. Imagine that, but concentrated right behind your right eye, just pushing and pressing and and they know they can't take it out. You know, they can't take it out, and he's gonna die. So the doctor tells him, get anyone who needs to see him, say their final goodbyes. Now's the time. All right. So Mary Todd, his son, his cabinet people are there. They surround him. They say their goodbyes. And at 7:22 in the morning, April 15th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln is pronounced dead. And Secretary of State Edwin Stanton famously says he now belongs to the ages. Now, there are some accounts that say he said he now belongs to the angels, but a lot of the stuff I've read said that he said he now belongs to the ages. So here's a picture of Lincoln when he first started becoming president. This is 4 years later. Again, this one here where he looks older and some of that, he's 56 years old. Here he's the other one, he's 52. That's how much this war took out of him. It made him age so much more. Now this picture, the one again, the older looking one, this is the last known photograph of Abraham Lincoln before his assassination. I want to say it was like a week or 4 days or something like that. But yeah, that's the last known picture. So that's the actual gun used by John Wilkes Booth. It's a single shot Derringer. It's a 41 caliber. The bullet is right below it. As you can see, it mushrooms. So if they try to take it out, it was just going to tear through everything. It might have just killed him right there and then. And then the last one is the actual dagger that Booth used to slash Major Rathbone. So here's my question to you. If Lincoln would have lived, do you think he would have ran a third time or more? Or do you think he would have stopped like other presidents before out of respect for George Washington? Now you have to remember, he was the war was about to end. They were going to go into a reconstruction, help out the African Americans, the former slaves, help them out, some of that. It might have taken more than 4 years. People loved him. People loved Lincoln. Do you think they would have wanted him to continue on? Do you think he would have continued on? Or do you think it would have been like, no, I'm sorry, 2 terms, 8 years, that's all I'm going to do too. Because again, he was a lover of history, and he gave such respect to history and the people before him. But also he knows that a job needs to get done. So what do you think he would have done? Based off everything you've heard and what you've learned about Lincoln, what do you think he would have done? You think he would have continued on, or do you think he would have stopped? Okay. So go ahead, answer the question, but we're moving on to the exit ticket in 3, 2, 1. So here is your exit ticket. Remember, pick one of these questions. The first one is analyze a plan to kidnap Lincoln. What do you think about it? Do you think it would have worked? Do you think it was too simple? Do you think uh, that they didn't plan it well enough? Do you think they planned it just it's as good as a plan as any? What do you think? Okay. Um, the next question is examine the events leading to the assassination if anything could have been done to stop it. Do you think that you know Lincoln should have not gone? Do you think that he should have um, you know um, had security? Because he did have security, but he told them to take the day off. You know, just the bad time to do that. So what do you think? And the last one is to create an argument on whether Major Rathbone could have done anything more than he did to stop Booth. Could he have done anything? Yeah, like I said, he lunged them, wrestled them for a bit, he got slashed, he got a hold of them. Do you think he should have chased them? What do you think he could have done, if anything? Okay. So once you pick your question and you've answered it, that's it for this lesson. Okay. I will be making an extra credit video on the other assassination attempts um, on President Johnson, um, Secretary of State Stewart, and General Grant. Okay, so if you want some extra credit for the next grading period, I will have that video ready for you next week, and it will be under like extra credit, you folder type of thing. Okay, on Google Classroom. Okay, so you guys, hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.